Hey there investors, welcome back. In this video, we'll be looking at Home Depot. The ticker symbol for Home Depot is HD. And the reason we'll be looking at Home Depot is because we want to follow the smart money. And the smart money is made up of large, sophisticated institutional investors with buying power in the millions. These are investors who are either buying large volumes of calls thinking that a price of a stock is going to go up, or buying a lot of puts thinking that the price will go down. And this is what we define as unusual option activity. The great thing about option contracts is that they give us a time frame, which is the expiration of the contracts. They also give us a strike price, which is where investors think that the price of a stock is going to go. As investors, we can try to take advantage of all this information by following their trades or taking more conservative position. Remember that these videos are for entertainment purposes only. Please check out the disclaimer in the description below, as well as other information that will be covered in this video. So with that, let's take a look at what's been going on with Home Depot. You can see that the stock came back up from its lows of today and sort of traded around this 284 285 range, flatlining, and that is a little bit more evident here on the weekly chart, roughly around that 284 285. And one thing that I found interesting was that when we take a step back and look at the 5-year chart, you can see sort of a bullish flag forming around this high end here, with the tip of the flag being 286 and the base being 269. You can see that the stock has been consolidating around this triangle flag range, with it coming back down to 265 and now could potentially break back past this pattern. So the reason we're looking at Home Depot is because the stock was recommended as the trade idea for the week on Market Rebellion. If you guys remember from my previous videos, I am a subscriber to the Market Rebellion services, where every week they cover 1 to 2 trade ideas looking at a specific stock and some of the option action that they're seeing in that specific stock that they pick out based on unusual option activity. And this week they pointed to Home Depot. So I want to look at what is the sentiment for Home Depot based on some of the option volume, and then we'll take a look at what could be driving the sentiment in some of this option volume. So when we look at Home Depot, we can see that the call to put makeup here is leaning more towards the call side, which could mean that the sentiment for the stock is more bullish, as there are 70% of the contracts being call options, with 29% roughly being put options. And when we look at what's been going on in the news, by doing just sort of a quick search, there hasn't been too much news on Home Depot, but I did find this article where an analyst is talking about what are the reasons why Home Depot would be a good buy at these levels. And specifically in this article, they point to some of the latest housing data, which is showing that building permits rising in the month of December, so Q4, and specifically an increase in single-family home building. So this could drive some of the outperformance in the stock that could come as a result of beating earnings estimates or strong performance or strong sales. And a lot of this trend of people moving out of urban areas to more rural or suburban areas could potentially be driving more demand for materials needed to construct some of these houses. So this is positive news for the company and could be potentially a catalyst for some of the price action going forward. So now that we considered some of the news and what could be potentially driving Home Depot, let's take a look at what prices investors think that the stock could potentially go to, looking at this expiration date of 129 for the week. And we see that investors are really thinking that stock could be coming back up to this 290, 287 based on the open interest volume, which is, as we see here, the total number of open option contracts that have been traded but not yet liquidated. So these are the open contracts that are still being held as open positions for these strike prices. So investors are somewhat seeing the stock going potentially to this 290 range, which isn't too far off from reality, as we see when we look at some of the stats of the stock. That stock has previously had a 52-week high of 292.95. Given some of the news and the strong demand for the building materials at Home Depot, as well as some of the technical bullish patterns forming here, you could see that the stock could potentially break past that. So let's take a look at some technical analysis to see if that's possible and sort of what levels we could see going forward. So as we see here from the market rebellion chart that they have so brilliantly labeled here, we can see that the stock has closed at around 285 and on the upside has seen these previous levels of resistance, and we can see that the 52-week high there is pointed out, 292. Another thing to note here is that the price action is trading above the moving averages, which is a pretty strong bullish indicator of strong demand for the upside. And so this is a good sign that the stock has the momentum to reach potentially this 52-week high or some of the levels up above. And if market conditions are favorable, the stock could potentially get there. However, the stock could also make a turnaround if, for example, it reaches these levels but then rejects the level. We could see the stock climbing back down to the levels of support down here, which are noted through these white lines. And so that's one other thing that we want to take a note at. And as always, they summarize sort of the trade idea, what contracts to get, as well as specifically look at some of the details for their trade idea. So I've kind of condensed it and summarized it into a more easier to read format so we can see a summary of the idea here. And the trade is really going for this January 29th expiration date on both the calls and the puts. So in the bullish market, the idea would be to get the 285 call contracts, and in the bearish market, getting the 285 put contracts. And our levels of resistance for the calls would be these levels here, potentially going to the 52-week high, and for the puts would be the levels here. And if the market experienced some kind of turnaround, we can see that these levels could potentially get reached, as well as if the stock experiences some rejection at that 52-week high, we could see the stock coming back down to these levels. So that is the idea for the week. I'll be putting the descriptions in the description, the details of the idea as well, so you guys can take a look. Let me know what you guys think about Home Depot and or any other stock that you're looking at for this week. I know there's been a lot of action in the market, and with earnings season coming up this week, there could be a lot of positive news or a lot of bad news depending on some of this market sentiment. But thanks again for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe for more videos. Thank you.